the fabulous Rougeaus, one of the undoubtedly, and you touched upon this earlier, there's quite a movement to have you inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. But I think one of the most lasting aspects of one of your runs in the WWF was the heel turn and that nuclear heat that you generated, incredible by any era standards. Was the genesis for that heel turn as a result of Vince McMahon, or how did that come about?
The Rougeau brothers, that came into 1986. 86 we started, and 86, 87, we worked so hard, Raymond and I, and as baby faces, but they just seemed like we didn't get over like they wanted us to, because we have to have the fact that the Americans, they like American heroes. And, it's like, and there was just something about me and Raymond not getting over as much as they would want as baby faces. So Vince had brought us into a meeting one time, and he told us, guys, we've been working 2 years together, and I have an idea. So then he came up with the idea that we move to Memphis. We get Jimmy Hart as our manager. We become the fabulous Rougeau brothers. We get the song All American Boys that we sang with Jimmy Hart there. That was absolutely, it was a hit. It's amazing, that song, how far it went. And then still today it's playing. When I go to Comic-Cons, people get in line and we don't like heavy metal. We don't like rock and roll. All we like to listen to is Barry Manilow. Hey! And then people are singing that we're all American. And it's funny how that song stuck to people. And so Vince initiated that turn. And it was the greatest thing that ever happened to us, because, and I remember my father. It was funny because my father had told me when I was very young, at a young age, I was very cocky when I was young. I was a go-getter, and I was like, I'm going to make it to the top no matter what it takes. And I pushed my way up. And I told my dad after like 3 years, maybe, I thought I was really good. And I told my dad, I said, hey, I'm getting pretty good now, And my father looked at me and he told me, he says, you know what? He says, there's two things that you'll know when you become good. The first thing is it takes 5 years. 5 years to become a really good worker. And then the second thing is you'll never be a good worker until you work heel. Like, so you have both sides of the story, because, we got to remember, guys, I'm sure you're aware of this, but a lot of fans are not aware of this, but all the way up to the 90s, to the 80s, I'm sorry, like in the 70s when I started in the 80s, and we'd get in the ring and the heels would call the match. Like the whole match was dictated by the heels. We'd just go in there, baby faces, and listen. And then when all the big, excuse my language, but in those days you had a lot of overweight heels, fat heels, and they'd come in and everybody would treat them as beer drinkers, and they looked like, guys, and they were like idiots, and the baby faces were the heroes. But the truth is the heels were the smart ones. They were the ones calling all the matches. They were the ones that were really dictating when they'd control the crowd and everything. So that was all the way up to the early 80s that it was like that. Before it went to, So my father was right, and then I realized when we turned heel, Raymond and I, and we became the fabulous Rougeau brothers. It was, we were, every team, every person has something that's going to make them pull out of the lot, like come out of the lot, of just make them different. And one of the things that Raymond and we just specialized on was like cheating behind the referee's back. Where, everything we did was so sneaky. Every time the referee would look at us, we'd be like, clean-cut guys, they're respecting the rules. But as soon as they tune and we'd have ways of going to make the other babyface come in and interfere, where the referee would go with him, and then we'd cheat behind his back. And when the referee would turn around, we'd be clean, changed, did the wrong guys in the ring and everything. And we'd look at the people like, hey, we tagged, didn't we? And then the people get pissed off big time because they knew that the referee didn't see it. So what it would be like in those days where we wouldn't put the heat on the referee. So where everybody would say, you dumb, stupid referee, because we were so fast and so quick behind the referee's back, people didn't blame the referee. They just blamed us for being no good, for being so. So that's the thing that Jimmy Hart says today, even when we'll meet him. He says, out of all the teams I've had, you guys are the best team that knew how to get heat behind the referee's back. And I think that helped us tremendously as the fabulous Rougeau brothers.
Who came up with the idea for the classic minuscule little American flags?
That was pretty much Vince, I think, and Vince, but at the stage, of there, I think that we could have done it too. Jimmy Hart could have done it, because now the initial turn was Vince, but then after that, we loved the gimmick so much that we were all putting ideas and putting some like the suits and the capes and the everything that came to song. It's actually Jimmy Hart that came up with the idea of doing us a song, and so I think it was a teamwork. It was at that point in time, like, everybody was putting their 2 cents in and making it the best thing possible, and we had so much chemistry between Jimmy Hart and us. It was like amazing.